Welcome! Today, we're plugging directly into the central nervous system of modern manufacturing, the Manufacturing Execution System, or MES. This is the amazing software that can take a chaotic factory floor and turn it into a smart, super efficient operation. So let's jump right in. I want you to imagine trying to conduct a huge orchestra, but you're in a completely soundproof room. That's pretty much the challenge for a lot of factory managers. You've got dozens, maybe hundreds, of machines, operators, and processes all going at the same time. A tiny problem in one corner can bring the whole operation to a screeching halt. But how on earth do you spot it before it's too late?
You know, for ages, managing a factory floor was all about experience guesswork. You'd rely on what you could physically see or what an operator happened to tell you. But the MES way, it's a total game changer. It gives you this real-time, holistic view across the entire production line by connecting all those crucial data points.
So how does an MES actually pull this off? Well, in this explainer, we're going to break it all down. First, we'll talk about its role as the factory's nervous system. Then we'll see how it shifts you from guesswork to real insight, helps you standardize for success, gets your products out the door faster, and ultimately gives you a massive manufacturing edge.
All right, let's start with the big picture. What's the fundamental job of an MES? Well, think of it as the single source of truth for your entire factory floor. It's the one system that connects all the moving parts, from the machines to the people, and lets them all talk to each other seamlessly.
So here's the formal definition on screen. At its core, an MES is this dynamic system that connects, monitors, and controls pretty much everything happening out there. It's the critical bridge between your big picture business plans, like from your ERP system, and the actual machines doing the work. It takes those high-level plans and turns them into real actions, then turns those actions back into super valuable data.
And that data? That's where the magic really happens. So let's dive into our first major benefit, how an MES completely transforms production monitoring from a slow, reactive chore into a proactive, data-driven superpower.
Before MES, monitoring often looked a little something like this. A light on a machine starts flashing red. Now, if the right person happens to be walking by at that exact moment, they'll see it and go get help. Once the immediate issue is fixed, the light turns green again, and that's it. The event is basically forgotten. You know something broke, but you have no idea why or how often it's been happening. And this old way highlights a massive flaw. There's a complete lack of analytics. There's no historical data to help you spot trends, and no way to automatically notify a manager who isn't standing right there on the floor. It just signals a problem, but gives you zero context or data to solve it for good.
Now here is where an MES absolutely shines. Instead of just a generic red light, it gives you incredible detail by classifying every fault. A critical fault, like a motor overload that stops a conveyor, that needs immediate attention. A major fault might have a temporary workaround, but you know it needs to be fixed soon. And a minor one, like a bearing that's starting to overheat, warns you about a problem before it happens. This lets your teams prioritize and respond intelligently, not just reactively.
Okay, so all this detailed data is fantastic, but how does it actually make things better? Well, that brings us to our next point, using that accurate data as the bedrock for any real, lasting improvement.
This quote really just says it all, doesn't it? The whole goal is to make things better. But better is a totally meaningless word if you can't measure it. You simply can't improve what you can't measure, and you can't measure what you can't see clearly.
But here's a crucial catch. Just collecting data isn't enough. It has to be the right data, and it has to be structured correctly. Here's a classic mistake we see all the time. Labeling a manufacturing step by the machine's physical ID number, something like Station 1020. It seems logical, right? But it creates a huge hidden problem down the line. Because what happens when business is booming and you add another identical station to do the exact same job? Well, now your system has two totally different machines, both reporting their data under the same generic process name. See the problem?
And that's where the domino effect starts. If one of those stations starts underperforming, its bad data just gets mixed in with the good data and the problem is completely hidden. Your data integrity is shot, trying to generate a useful report becomes a slow-motion nightmare, and trying to expand in the future gets even messier. This is why MES is so important. It forces you to standardize these definitions from the start, making sure your data is clean, reliable, and actually useful.
Now, beyond just optimizing your day-to-day operations, an MES can be a secret weapon for one of the most high-stakes things any company does, launching a brand new product.
I mean, just think about the smartphone industry.
A delay of just a couple of weeks can mean missing a huge sales window and losing millions in market share. But at the same time, if you rush and release a product with flaws, you could destroy your brand's reputation. Speed and reliability are everything.
And MES gives your product engineers a direct line of sight into the things that make or break a launch. It tracks the true cost of materials, which includes all the rework and repairs. It measures transformation efficiency, basically how well you turn raw stuff into finished goods. And it gives you hard data on how reliable your suppliers are by tracking their components on your actual production line.
And this data is just invaluable. Engineers can see almost in real time if a new component is a nightmare to install or if a certain design choice is causing a bunch of failures. This lets them make smart adjustments early on, making sure the final product isn't just designed well but can be manufactured well. That alone can shave weeks, even months off your time to market.
Okay, so let's bring this all home. When you put it all together, what's the ultimate competitive advantage that a manufacturing execution system really gives you?
It really boils down to these three core benefits. First, you can monitor your entire operation in real time. Second, you can improve your processes using hard data, making changes based on facts, not just feelings. And third, you can launch new products way faster and with a whole lot more confidence. Ultimately, an MES is a truly transformational tool. It takes what used to be a bunch of disconnected, invisible events happening on the factory floor and weaves them all together into a single, intelligent, and data-driven operation. It really is the brain of the modern factory.
Which really leaves us with one final question to think about. In a world where data is the most valuable resource we have, isn't it time to ask if your factory is fully fueled or if it's still just running on empty?